COVID-19 has left on the bureaucracy, how they are doing, because whatsoever good work they are doing, that is very good. Whatsoever the lacking, because media sometimes bash them, but we have to listen from them. What is the real situation? So today, first I would like to introduce our first guest, and then they will start giving their views. Our first guest is Dr. J. Alexander, IAS. He is of 1963 batch. He is former Chief Secretary of Karnataka and former Cabinet Minister of Tourism, Karnataka. After his retirement, he entered in public life, contested election to the state legislature from a Bangalore city constituency, became MLA and Cabinet Minister for Tourism, Karnataka. Nowadays, he is actively involved with several social and cultural organizations. He is president of Bangalore City YMCA for last 30 years. He is advisory board member in Global Organization of People of Indian Origin, GOPIO. He is on Board of Governors of Xavier Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship, Bangalore. He is a doyen, one can say. Welcome, Dr. Alexander, to this show. Just unmute, Dr. Alexander. Please unmute yourself. Just unmute. Dr. Alexander, yes, Dr. Alexander. So now we would like to know from you, Dr. Alexander, although yes, you have seen both the things, you were in the executive as well as in legislature. So we would like to know from you now today, with the COVID-19 impact on Indian bureaucracy, being such a senior bureaucrat of India, definitely your views matters a lot. So let us hear what Dr. J. Alexander has to say. Dr. J. Alexander, please.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so happy to be part of this discussion. We are discussing the challenges that the Indian bureaucracy had to face in view of this pandemic, which has taken all of us by surprise. But I must say, with my fairly close, intimate knowledge of what is happening in Karnataka state and also Kerala state, where I have some institutional connections, the bureaucracy has done very well. So it was a challenge and they were not prepared for this, but district administration, the revenue administration, and all those people who were directly or indirectly connected with the operations of the government have done their job with absolute commitment. Maybe here and there some complaints by the media would be there, but generally, I must say that the bureaucracy has acquitted themselves very well in rising up to the challenge that was faced before us. Anything specifically to ask me?
Yeah. Dr. Alexander, just you have given your opening remarks. That is very good. We will be asking the questions afterwards. But what you said, that there are lots of challenges, and whatsoever has been done by the bureaucracy is remarkable. That is a very good thing, because people should know the other side of the story. Whatsoever the media says, it is a one-sided story. But this is a program where we want to present the real story or the real side of this thing. Now, I would like to go to our next panelist. He is Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS. He is of 1977 batch. He is now appointed as one-man expert commission on labor to prepare an action plan for the welfare and development of the workforce in the context of COVID-19. Dr. Bose is an house expert, innovator, writer, orator, and visionary. He was the head of the prestigious Supreme Court Committee on the Treasures of Sri Padmanabha Swami Temple. Dr. Bose is a recipient of 31 national and international awards, including United Nations Global Best Practice Award. He also received prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru Fellowship. Welcome, Dr. Bose, on this show.
Thank you.
Now, my first question to you, like you have heard what Dr. J. Alexander has mentioned, that the bureaucracy is doing very nicely. There are few reports here and there, but otherwise they are doing very good job. Now, you were a very senior, you are also a very senior IS officer, and now you are looking after the as an expert commission on the labor and the migrants. Now, what you felt about the impact, COVID-19 impact on Indian bureaucracy? Dr. Anand Bose, please.
This has been a testing time for Indian bureaucracy. I would say that the bureaucracy has been tried, tested, and found to be effective. This was a very, very challenging time for the civil servants in the country. The civil servants who belong to various services. And when I say civil servants, I do not mean members of the Indian civil service alone. All the government officers, particularly those working in the health sector, the police, the fire force, the public distribution system, in fact, all those who are dealing with these vital aspects of public life, they have acquitted themselves very well, not only before the people of India, but also in the eyes of the world. Indian bureaucracy has come of age. In fact, as Dr. Goyal would know, in a situation like this, in a disaster like this, in a pandemic like this, there are 4 stages which a bureaucracy has to lay its hands on carefully. 1, intelligence. 2, preparation for action. 3, action. And 4, mopping up. Intelligence. The moment we realize that COVID-19 is a reality in India, Indian bureaucracy acted with the swiftness and promptness. And we see the result here. The death rate in this country is abysmally lower compared to the higher rate of death in the other so-called advanced countries. We use the intelligence, the information received from all parts of the world. We analyzed it. We took stock of the situation. We kept ourselves ready. Second is a preparation for action. Yes, this was the time when India did not even have personal equipment, protection equipment, PPE, not even masks. Now you see the Indian system, the bureaucratic system, has risen to the occasion, and we are able not only to manufacture in millions, even to export to the other countries. Now action. I think whatever we see around us speaks for the action of the Indian bureaucracy. They are there. People thought the Indian bureaucracy is unready. No. The Indian bureaucracy has proved that when there is a challenge, we are ready, we are ever ready. Indian bureaucracy has shown to the world that India can deliver. And that is a message which the entire world has noticed. Even Amartya Sen. Amartya Sen is on record praising India for the proactive steps that we have taken. And Bill Gates wrote a letter to the Prime Minister of India, again praising the efficient steps taken by this country. We have proved that we are good crisis managers. We are captains of the storm, and Indian bureaucracy has acquitted itself creditably in this process.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bose, for giving so forcefully your views about the Indian bureaucracy. And as you mentioned that the Indian bureaucracy has proved to the entire world, the Indian bureaucracy is one of the best, rather I will say the best in the world. Now I would like to move to our next panelist. She is Dr. Divya S. Iyer, IAS. Welcome, Dr. Divya, to our show. Dr. Divya is of 2014 batch. Dr. Divya S. Iyer is a highly talented officer who showed her skills not only in education, but also in extracurricular activities. She is an officer, doctor, writer, painter, singer, and actor. She is author of 2 books, namely Pathfinder, Civil Service Main Examination, and Applied Diplomacy through the Prism of Mythology. Currently, she is Mission Director of the Mahatma Gandhi Narega, Kerala. Welcome, Dr. Iyer, on this show. My question to you is, you have heard the 2 very senior bureaucrats, and they have said that Indian bureaucrats are among the best. Now, when you being a young IS officer, when you see that those senior officers are having so much faith and having so much confidence on the bureaucracy, I'm sure that you are seeing the reality, ground reality, and because you are from Kerala, right now Kerala is supposed to be the one of the model state in India where this COVID has been controlled drastically, as well as about the on other parts also. Now, we would like to know from you that what you think the COVID-19 impact on bureaucracy. Dr. Divya S. Iyer, please.
Thank you, Dr. Lal Goyal. And it's truly humbling to be on the same forum with giants of civil services like Dr. J. Alexander, Dr. Anand Bose, and Dr. Ashok Kumar. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And it is indeed a great motivation for people like us to hear words of wisdom as well as appreciation from seniors like you. It means a lot to us, truly. Talking about what we have learned in Kerala as part of a bureaucracy in facing disasters, I think prior to entering into the COVID-19 scenario, I have to confess that Kerala in the recent years has been in the forefront of tackling disasters one after the other in consecutive years. We've had Oki cyclone, we've had the deadly floods of 2018, which saw almost a repeat floods in 2019, and then we have the COVID, and then we had the Nipah virus attack in between, and that now we have the COVID-19 pandemic. So the last few years actually has been lessons after lessons for us in tackling disasters. And when I speak to students who are aspiring civil servants, there is often a question that pops up, and they would ask me, what is that one skill that you think is absolutely essential to make a good civil servant? And my answer almost always is this, that you need to be able to learn every single day of your life. If you're willing for that, you will make an excellent civil servant. In the sense that we've always had this generalist versus specialist sort of a debate that keeps going about the civil services. And I've always liked to look at it as civil servants are always specialists at learning. And what I'm going to talk to you is only about what I have learned over the last few years from my experience, as well as from the collective wisdom of all my colleagues, as well as my seniors in the cadre here and outside. In management jargon, we often have this new term which has come up in the last decade or so, which is called adaptive leadership. Now, adaptive leadership is this framework of leadership which enables individuals as well as organizations in order to learn the current or the changing needs of every scenario, adapt to them, as well as thrive in challenging environments. And this is actually playing out in the field here in Kerala. As I have already told you, with respect to disasters as well as the demands of modern days development scenario in the state. Let me share 3 cardinal learnings from the experience we've had in dealing with COVID-19 scenario here. First one, as has been touted across the world, the investment that Kerala has been making in public healthcare systems over the years. So it is not something which we woke up to one fine morning. It is a legacy which we have been bestowed upon as a bureaucracy. We have been bestowed upon with over the last few years, thanks to all the visionary leaders and the seniors and the people of Kerala who were here before us as well. So when I talk about public health system, it is not only the facilities or the infrastructure that I'm talking about. There's much more than that to it. And I think the most important factor is the health-seeking behavior of people of Kerala, which has been inculcated over the years. So even if you have a hospital somewhere around, the very fact that people in Kerala are actually very conscious and aware of their healthcare needs, and they have a very unique and very high health-seeking behavior in the state of Kerala is something that actually has helped us throughout this lockdown period as well as during the COVID-19 scenario. So that is our learning number one. It is not only important to build structures and systems, but it's always important to carry your people along with it. So I'll give you an example from my own seat where I'm sitting right now, which is the mission director of Mahatma Gandhi Narega here in Kerala. Prior to the lockdown, actually almost 3 weeks prior to the lockdown, we from the mission had already issued the directions for a campaign called Break the Chain, wherein hand washing and use of masks and gloves, everything was made mandatory at all the work sites in Manrega. So once this was issued out, and we try to ensure that we propagate the exact technique of hand washing, the need to use masks and hand washing soaps and sanitizers, etc. So one fine day, I was sitting in my office, and then I received this phone call from a concerned individual citizen who actually took the pain to find out the phone number from the website of our mission and called me up to tell me that there is this work site near my house where there are people, out of which 2 of them are not wearing masks. The rest of them are. Now, this was only at 10:30 in the morning. So they had just come to work, and these 2 people were actually waiting for their mask because they had not brought it from their homes. This is what I found out later on. But the level of awareness and the level of concern that the citizens around them have itself was a big solace to me. So half the work of the bureaucracy actually is being shared by our citizens in Kerala. So that's why I say, when I say public health systems, it is not only the infrastructure, it is not only the human resources, it is not only the PPEs, but the health-seeking behavior of people and to raise the awareness of people in Kerala. So that's the first learning that I have had in this COVID-19 scenario. The second one, I would say, right in the beginning, proactive measures to contain panic is something that one has to do on the face of any disaster. Now, in this peculiar scenario of COVID-19, I think the panic regarding healthcare on one side and the panic regarding markets being closed down and shut down was there on the other side when a lockdown was announced. So I also happen to hold additional charge in the Food and Civil Supplies Department currently. And from my experience there, I think one of the wonderful things that as a state, Kerala had decided and have implemented successfully is the fact that free ration was distributed to all the citizens, whether you have a ration card or not. All the households were distributed free rations for the last 3 months, as well as we decided to give out food item kits comprising of 18 items of essential groceries, which would actually sustain a family for 1 month happily. So these 87 lakh food item kits were actually prepared in a record time, and it was distributed through the EPOS system very effectively through the fair price shops, through our ration distribution system as well. So this is just one example of the numerous measures that was taken by the government in order to contain panic on the face of a disaster like COVID-19. So the first one, public healthcare system, carry your people along and increase their health-seeking behavior. Second one, contain panic, take proactive measures in order to contain panic and do whatever it takes to do that, because it pays off really, really well in containing a situation like this. And third one, and probably the most important one, is to ensure that participatory governance is there all the way through. I was reading in an article recently wherein the political economist, Michael Lipsky, actually uses this term called street-level bureaucracy. I found it very interesting. Street-level bureaucracy, he says, are people who lies in between the policy makers and the public in general. So these are all our healthcare workers, the police force, the fire force, the PDS system, the revenue officials, and all the department officials who actually work for long hours during these times of crisis and disasters and ensure that the decisions taken at the political level as well as the policy makers are actually carried down and implemented at the field level. Now, to give them the much needed assistance and access to people, we in Kerala have a very robust local self-governance system, the 3-tier governance system. The delegation of political as well as financial powers is one of the most well-oiled machinery in Kerala, as Dr. Anand Bose and Dr. Alexander would definitely agree to that. And this is one system which we have utilized completely during this COVID crisis, wherein we've had community kitchens bustling at the field level, doling out food, cooked food, delicious cooked food to people who are in need at all levels in every panchayat. We've had ASHA workers, we've had local ward level committees and teams who check on people who are on quarantine to fulfill their needs, to identify their needs, to have an effective field level surveillance system for that matter. So ensuring that participatory governance and giving power to the local self-governing institutions, especially the panchayats, I think has worked really well for us during this time of crisis. And I was also discussing with one of our district collectors. As we all know, though we talk about bureaucracy as a whole, probably the most important nodal point or the linchpins of bureaucracy who are right there at the forefront carrying out all the activities and interacting with the public at the same time, day in and day out, are the district magistrates or the district collectors. So I was discussing with some of them, and some of the important, and the intriguing lessons or takeaways I received from them are as follows. Firstly, this is a time where we all are gripped by uncertainty. So as a human being, every district collector or every member of bureaucracy is also equally uncertain from within, because we exactly don't know what is going to happen tomorrow, how many cases are going to pop up tomorrow. Even if we have taken adequate number of precautionary measures, what the world shows us and what the trends across the world shows us is that things don't exactly go as per our plan in a situation like that. So on the face of that uncertainty, how do we actually maintain a stoic face and inspire confidence in people around us and to the people who actually come to us and seek our assistance? So as an individual, I think the district collectors, as well as people like me, who are working in directorates or departments or the secretariat, this is one thing which as an individual, we all have learned as to how to inspire confidence in people around us in order to make sure that they stay motivated. Because as we know, this has been a long journey. And unlike other disasters, wherein we probably have a time frame, if it is a cyclone, if it is a landslide, if it is an earthquake, we always have a time frame as to once that event has happened, and then there is a curve. And we know that things are going to be fine in a certain number of days. So we can have an exact planning, a precise planning. But here, unfortunately, we still don't know if we have hit the peak. And with every day, with increasing number of cases, it is only that apprehension about the worst that lies ahead that actually grips us. So in such a scenario, how to keep the motivation of our workforce alive is a very important issue. And different people have started using different methods in order to motivate the entire workforce at whatever level it may be, and also to ensure that they don't get burnt out when the time is actually necessary. And so that's one great learning we have all had as individuals, as officials, as part of bureaucracy. And another learning is also to, as I had mentioned earlier on, as far as the adaptive leadership paradigm goes, we all have heard about more governance and less government. So I think this is one time where we actually got to experiment with that at the field level, because with a skeletal staff structure, we've actually been able to carry out and fulfill our activities. So in that sense, we have learned how to work with the bare essentials and the bare minimum, and still ensure that our productivity and output is as expected and hits the right notes. So that is the second learning. And third important individual learning, I would say, is to also, understand that we ourselves are human beings. As we all know, COVID-19 has been a great equalizer than anything else. So we all know that it's not going to, spare anyone based on any of the barriers that we have constructed for each other. So whether you're a bureaucrat or not, whether you're a politician or not, COVID treats you the same. So understanding that you yourself are susceptible towards it, and trying to hide or trying to suppress or trying to contain your own health concerns, your own family's health concerns, and still take that risk out there for the larger public cause, and understand that when duty beckons, you really have to be there, out there, fighting it out in the battle and sweat it out and give your 100% out there. And that is the kind of inspiration we all try to share and take from each other in this situation in Kerala.
Thank you.
That's roughly what I want to tell you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Iyer, for giving such a detailed things what you have done and what the Kerala government has done to control this pandemic, as well as the earlier disasters. And as you have mentioned about the 3 points, that how you have the departments and the government is planning to do it. I'm sure that these types of models, if the entire India follow, definitely we can control this COVID-19 effectively. Now I would like to move to our next panelist. He is Mr. Ashok Kumar Ji, IAS. Welcome, Mr. Ashok Kumar, to our show.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah. Mr. Ashok Kumar is of 1991 batch. He is Additional Secretary and Mission Director, National Water Mission and Executive Director Projects, National Mission for Clean Ganga. He is BTech in Electronics and Communication Engineering with distinctions. He also attended the Chevening Rolls-Royce Innovation, Science and Leadership Program, CRISP, in 2013 at University of Oxford, UK. Due to his outstanding work, one lake in Nizamabad is named as Ashok Sagar. One village in Pulvendula is named as Ashok Nagar in recognition of his services to resettle people who were staying in a remote area. Welcome, Mr. Ashok, in this show, and really it's a very remarkable that two things like one lake and one village is in your name. So my question to you is, now you are seeing, and you might have heard other earlier guests also, that Indian bureaucracy is under tremendous pressure, but they are doing a very excellent job, because the bureaucracy, and especially the like Dr. Divya has mentioned about the district magistrates and all the other departments, they have to see that not only the bureaucracy, but the street level bureaucracy, which includes the health worker and all the supplying chain, the vegetable seller, even the medicines, whatnot. To streamline them is a very big challenge. And till now, I am sure that we are successful in this. And so now we would like to know from you the COVID-19 impact on Indian bureaucracy. Mr. Ashok Kumar, please.
Thanks for the nice introduction, sir. And I pay my respects to Anand sir and Alexander sir. And regards to Divya, I joined a bit late. I heard Divya speaking very nicely about what Kerala has done. Kerala is a role model for many of the states in many things, and for this role in the COVID fight also. I have been away from the field for quite some time, so my experience, so I'll talk basically on the experience I had as a team leader for visiting Surat in COVID, and also from the slightly higher perspective, not from the district administration side where Divya had spoken. So this COVID has really impacted our life, everybody, not only our life, everybody's life, and definitely bureaucracy also will be impacted. I would say it's like AD and BC. It's like after Corona and before Corona. That should be the whole world has become AC and BC. So there is a lot of impact on the way people live, people behave, and the way we react to situation. But a bureaucracy, as Diva was telling, the bureaucracy has to play the leader's role. As somebody said, some are born great, some are leadership thrust upon them. The bureaucracy, by virtue of its nature, has leadership thrust upon them, and it has to deliver wherever it has. It is whatever be the situation. And Indian bureaucracy, particularly IAS and all other civil services, have been doing excellent job, whether it's in cyclone, whether it is in natural disasters or in other fields. Wherever they were called upon to do their job, bureaucracy has done very well. But this COVID is slightly different. It's something like a VUCA time. What we see in the modern management parlance, it is a very situation is like a VUCA world. Volatility is there because we do not know how long the crisis is going to last. Every time there is a lot of changes happening every day. So we are not very sure about what strategies we should adopt. So there's a volatility is there. There is uncertainty. The virus is quite new and it changes its pattern. It changes its the way it impacts us. So there's a lot of uncertainty. We know for certain that how it spreads, but then there is also a lot of confusion regarding how else it can spread. So there's a lot of uncertainty on this. There is complexity because this is a new virus, and virus by nature itself is very difficult to be to tackle. The HIV, it came in about 40 years back. Still, we don't have a vaccine or a preventive medicine for it. We are only prolonged life of people who are HIV positive. So it's a very complex system and ambiguity. We may have some understanding of the causal effect, but there is a lot of ambiguity on what steps should be taken, whether the lockdown should come down at that time or should be lifted at that time. So it's a very VUCA situation, as VUCA world, as the modern parliament, this management parlance says. For that, how do you combat that? When there is uncertainty, we should fight it with some vision. We have to have vision, like our Prime Minister comes out, very clear vision, unerring direction to what we should focus on. That vision has to be there in the bureaucracy, and it is done by the political masters and implemented by the bureaucracy. So the vision has to be there, and then when there is we should have clear understanding. For that, we have to expand the knowledge base. Different researchers are going all over the place, so researchers are helping it. We have courage to take decisions. Our leadership, political leadership, also have taken very, very courageous decision of lockdown at the very short notice, and then, as a matter of collective federalism, talking to all the state government, involving all of them, the lockdown were extended periodically. So that's it, and then sticking on to that decision, because it's a very, very complex situation where your livelihood is affected, the migrant people are actually affected. At the same time, we have to contain the spread of the virus, so social distancing has to be there. So it was a very, very complex situation which was never faced by any of us. So the courage to take decision, and as Divya said, adaptability. It's a flexible tactics. Tactics cannot be said that I said this will be done. So there is a way of, we have to change our strategies as per the things evolve. So this is a new bureaucracy. We have to follow this type of situation where we have a very clear vision, but we should have a very clear understanding of things. We should have courage to take decisions, and we should have adaptability. I think this is the four hallmarks of the evolving bureaucracy. Second is the power of IT. We have really seen for the first time the how IT has impacted the life of people here. See, many companies, I've talked to many of the major companies, they say that we never realized that India had such a extremely stable digital backbone where we could conduct so many video conferences and work from home. the work from home concept is another new one which is emerging and probably gaining currency in India because of the efficacy it has shown in the last couple of months. Many major companies are comfortable working from home or riding on the digital backbone which India has developed. So probably in the time to come, the files may disappear and become e-files, which is very, very common in government offices now. The old red tape has gone. It is replaced by it's not replaced. It is actually probably improved by the presence of e-office system where the files move in a computer network and the decisions come very fast and the response to the files happen very fast. So this is another very important change which will have in the bureaucracy. The more and more use of technology, more and more use of electronic media, digital network to communicate with people. See, the way we had transferred the money to the farmer's account and the use of Jan Dhan account, where the money was deposited directly onto the into the account of people. So this is a very, very important and successfully implemented initiative of using digital technology to reach to the people. Earlier times, probably when we were collectors and when sir and all were collector, it used to be a patwari going to the houses of people and deliver it. But now that has changed. It is a delivery from top to bottom without any middleman, directly going to the account and without any leakage. This is a very important transition of Indian bureaucracy because in the earlier Indian bureaucracy used to say that it is a big there's a lot of leaks happening in between, but that has really stopped. So this is a very important initiative or the learning which we have learned in this COVID situation, and that is going to stay. The Indian bureaucracy will have to live with this concept of digital age, where we perform through the media of digital networks and ensure that the whatever we are delivering reaches the people without any leakage. That's one very important thing which we have learned. And another very important thing is the participatory and decentralized administration. I was in Surat as leader of the COVID management team to handle the problem there. Surat, as you are aware, probably has the largest number of migrant laborers. A lot of people from different states were there. So the issues in Surat is different from issues in probably other part of the country. In Surat, we had 12 lakh migrant laborers, all of them clamoring to go home, despite the fact that they were being fed by the administration and the local people. This is another very important thing. Earlier times, when there were disasters used to strike, it used to be the responsibility of the administration to give them all help. I found in Surat that the local people, the industries, the NGOs and the local organizations have risen, and we were serving almost 9 lakh meals per day for almost 45 days. It's a tremendous task to ensure that the whole chain of food, value chain of food, right from buying vegetables to cutting in and cooking it, and then putting keeping it in a disposable plate and taking to the houses where it is to be delivered. The migrant laborers are staying, and then give them food and collect this big bagonas in which we had sent the large volumes of food, bring it back, wash it and keep it, all ensuring that there is no contamination in the process. And that to maintaining for 40 days, 9 lakh meals is an amazing task. And it was a very hot period. We found that villages putting shamianas and pandals for people to stand in queue, because social distancing was another important aspect. Everybody had to stand 3 feet distance in circles which have been drawn on the road. So they used to come back, take their food and go back in the afternoon, and then again in the afternoon, in the evening they come back to collect the food. So this process of involving the people at the time of crisis was very, very important learning which we had. And bureaucracy, that my bab, I am at the top and I do whatever we want, that has gone. Because now the people, as Divya said, have become more aware. They are starting questioning why things are getting delayed. And they also understand the problems faced by the administration, because cooking 9 lakh food and giving to them was very difficult. So we, at the district administration, Surat, that one wonderful thing they did was they sought the help of all the NGOs, religious organizations, and industrial organizations, and they in turn asked people to provide help, because it was a collective actually. Every house they gave 5 rotis. These 5 rotis were collected in a particular apartment, were collected at the ground floor by someone else, which was transferred to the head of the road junction, and that was picked up from that road junction to the main collection community center, and there they packed and sent it to the people. So it was a huge cooperative effort of different people, and all of them maintaining the purity of the chain. That was very, very nicely done. And the third point is when the migrants, they desperately wanted to go back to their parents, to their houses where their wives or their parents were there. We didn't have any major problem, because see, as you said, as we said, the systems were evolving. At that time, when the lockdown started, we said that everybody should stay there without moving. When they were given food, but then every time the lockdown extended, their tensions built up. They said they wanted to, because of this emotional stress they were going through, they wanted to go back home. Now, this also was a very humongous task, because making arrangements for 12 lakh people to go from one city was very difficult. Initially, they perpetrated bus, but the buses would have been a disaster, because a bus will contain maybe 30-40 people, and 12 lakh people require so many number of buses. And the buses, the tracks are not clearly defined, whereas in railways, at least the tracks are defined. We could go, and where the halts are there are defined, where they'll eat food is defined, and there are toilets in the bus. So the trains were a good initiative, which changed from the buses to the trains, and we and the district administration managed to send these people in a very, very peaceful manner. And I'm told that most of the people, about 9 lakh people who have left Surat, are happy to go there, and now many of them want to come back, because their need of emotional need of meeting the parents are over, and they want to come back to start the work. So this is a very, very different situation, because we have handled floods, we have handled droughts, we have handled cyclones. These are all for short period. It used to be there maybe a day or two, or maybe a maximum of 10 days. But this particular crisis kept on, and it's still not ended. It's continuing for almost 3-4 months. So this is a very, very new system, a new threat which we had faced. And I'm happy that the bureaucracy, the police, the medical staff, all have come together to respond to the call of the leader of the nation, and they have delivered. Despite all problems faced, we didn't have PPE kits when we started it. See, these are all new issues which we never expected, the shortage of PPE kits. We never anticipated that. But in the last 50, 60 days, where we tried to keep the people spread in a much lower rate by lockdown, we have gained sufficient time to manufacture sufficient PPE kits for the doctors. We have made sufficient beds to contain to provide beds to the patient. All these things have happened, and it was a new learning which we went through this process. So bureaucracy, as I said, has evolved along with this crisis. It was a VUCA situation, uncertain, volatile situation, but the bureaucracy has evolved. And probably this will continue, because some of the things which we have learned in this, as I said, the decentralized decision-making, the way IT technology is being used, the way that cooperative federalism, where Prime Minister used to take input from various states and then take a decision. These are all very, very new things which we have seen. And another very important thing which bureaucracy will have to face, not only the country has to take suit about the fake news, because there were so many news, social media, which was giving about different ideas. These were not there earlier. When we were in collective, probably we didn't have this type of social media, which messages could be sent fast. It's a positive way of looking at it, but false messages also could go very fast. So both things happen in this particular time of the humanity, where social media can be used as a positive tool as well as a negative tool. So this is again a very, very important thing which we have learned in this crisis, and the way our policemen have responded, because policemen was always thought of as an oppressor. But here, this is the first time probably a very, very humane face of policemen were shown. Policemen were guiding. Despite their problems of lack of PPE equipment in the beginning, and also lack of proper clarity of guidelines, they maintained the sanity of the place. They helped people to maintain social distancing, helped us lockdown, convinced the people to stay at home, and they did a wonderful work. Much more that was the dedication shown by the doctors and the medical staff. So it was a wonderful exercise of collective dedication shown by the entire country under the leadership of the Prime Minister and the respective state governments. Every state government had done extremely well, because this was like PM said, "Jaane to jahan hai." So unless we have the life, we can't have the entire country. So we have shifted from Jaane Jahan hai to then Jan or Jahan B, and then this shifting the strategies. Now we are opened up. There's not a criticism that we are opening up early, but then how long we continue to lockdown? See, these are all very, very difficult decisions to be taken, but decisions are taken, and holding on to the decision without wavering is probably the new bureaucracy ahead. And the last point is that in India, most of one of the major problems shown or given thrown at the bureaucracy is that very indecisive. They try to be status quoistic. But this is a time when many bureaucrats try to be decisive, and then decisions were taken, and then multiple feedbacks were taken. Different, and I used to talk to different collectors of different states, because I was assigned some states. So I used to call up the collectors of different states, get their feedback and submit to our ministers, and who in turn used to give to the IOS authority. So there was a process of collecting information from and getting the feedback from various parts of the country. Various parameters were monitored, and then decisions were altered or taken according to the feedback. This is a very wonderful exercise which we did. And the last point probably is the way we said go vocal for local. Probably urbanization, what we thought would, which we expected, that there's a massive urbanization and all villages move to the cities, would probably stop. We may not expect that type of movement. Local products will now come up. Local initiative will come up, and using this IT, where it is immediate where you sit. Many of the IT things can happen from the villages also. So that is one thing which is the new norm, where the urbanization may come down. That's probably one thing which will happen. So this all I think that the new and probably last point is probably we have been humbled, as Divya said. Nature has humbled us, and we had been put to our place, telling that you don't run fast. There is a certain pace. Give the nature time. See, I can tell you the example of Yamuna in Delhi, which is a very, very polluted river. We tried our level best to clean it, but in the 3 months of lockdown, because of because less pollutants were coming into the river has become clean. So we have now we are now experiencing cleaner air. We are now experiencing cleaner water. we are experiencing cleaner environment. So probably it is a lesson which we have learned, that take care of environment and nature will take care of herself. We have to be very, very submissive to nature, not try to be very, very aggressive with nature. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Ashok Kumar, for giving the details. And one thing which you have said is very good and eye-opener for the public at large. That is how the Surat has served the migrants, 12 lakhs migrants, and about 9 lakhs meals every day. That means for the morning and the evening, that means about 18 lakhs meals every day for 40 days. It's something very remarkable. Now, this shows that how the bureaucracy is working. We should understand the bureaucracy work is not that easy. They have to coordinate with all agencies, whether it's an NGO, whether it's a police, or whether whosoever, and to work. So that is one part. And that is why we want to show this side of the bureaucracy. Now, my question to Dr. Alexander.
Yes.
How will the bureaucracy will manage the government programs and schemes during a period of lower tax regime, because the collection of tax is very less and the state governments are definitely facing the financial crisis. At this time, to work to manage the government programs effectively, efficiently by the bureaucracy is a challenge. How they are going to do it? Dr. Alexander, please.
Yes. In fact, the experience of dealing with this pandemic has taught a lot of lessons for us. The bureaucrats are very closely involved in policy making for the government. And there are many issues which has come up today in the light of the experience in handling this pandemic, which can be helpful for us in guiding the political bosses, the decision makers, in framing policies for the future. One of the specific cases that I would like to mention, our friend Mr. Ananda Bose is involved as a one-man commission for migrant workers. In fact, during this pandemic, a very painful experience has been the fate of the migrant workers. Now, all state governments must realize that this is a problem to be addressed. We cannot handle issues without the presence and help of migrant workers. But at the same time, it is necessary that these migrant workers who are working away from their homes get a feeling of belonging to that place and they get safety and protection. If they had that in the places where they stay for work, they would not have taken this hazardous journey by foot and train and exposing themselves to the danger. So this has given us a great lesson that while we need the presence and service of migrant workers, have failed in giving them a sense of security and protection in the places where they are working. We also know that in places where COVID has had less impact are places where the network of healthcare services has been good. So it is a pointer to us to see that the network of healthcare services are developed in every state. The third point is, it has also given us an impression that the immunity level of people in India is much higher than people in the West. It is because of our food habits, where we use a lot of condiments, spices like ginger, pepper, the turmeric, garlic, onions, and all that. All these are helpful. We are now getting aware of the importance of our traditional diet. And so give the policy that we should encourage these diet changes and make using of natural living. We have also realized that we don't have to be lavish in our day-to-day life. We can manage with much less expenditure, and we don't have to be racing like rats in our society. The beneficial effect of COVID has been on the environment. In fact, I live in an area where we used to have some 20 years back, several birds coming to our trees, and they all disappeared because of the pollution. But during the last 2 months, we find the same birds coming back. So there has been some beneficial effect on this. So these are all lessons that we have learned, which can be used in framing policies of the government for development for the future.
Thank you, Dr. Alexander, for your views. And now I would like to know from Dr. Bose, how can bureaucracy improve its collaboration with the private sector in the coming months to restart India's economy?
See, the Indian economy has opened up ever since the new economic policy was introduced by Dr. Manmohan Singh. This policy has really helped the country a lot. In the post-COVID situation, I find there is a lot of scope for coexistence between the private sector and the public sector. In dealing with the pandemic, there is no differentiation between the private and the public sector, because COVID does not make a difference between private body and public body. I think we have been taught how to level society. COVID has been a good leveler. In the economic prosperity of this country in the post-COVID days, I see a tremendous lot of potential for the private sector as well. This does not mean that the public sector has lost its relevance. No. It is said that government's business is government, not business. To an extent, we agree with that. I think the role of the public sector and the private sector will be redefined for the future needs. There are certain areas where I think the government should have a decisive and definitive say. For instance, areas like agriculture. Who kept the country above starvation during the lockdown days? The farmer. And who ran the nation during starvation? The mothers. It was the kitchen cabinet which really ran this country during lockdown. I think the two areas which should find attention in the post-COVID reconstruction and development are agriculture and, of course, turning the homemakers into nation builders. These are areas where governmental policies has to be open. As they said in the time of the Great Depression of the 1930s, we need open covenants of peace, openly arrived at. In our redefinition of the economic principles in post-COVID days, I think we should give unto Caesar what is Caesar's and unto God what is God's. We should give to the public sector what it is due and to the private sector what is its due. I think I do not believe in the debate, old hackneyed debate about private and public sector. And even economic doctrines are changing. And somebody said, see, after the new economic policy, somebody said, what is the difference between capitalism and communism? They said communism is exploitation of man by man, and capitalism is vice versa. I don't see any difference between public and private sector. Each one has a role to play. And our ability remains in understanding the role to be played by each and facilitating that role play. Now, Dr. Alexander has highlighted the importance of migrant labor. I would come to that. See, migrant labor is mostly taken care of by the private sector, by the employers, by the contractors. But when they were in a crisis, what happened? See, the private players, most of them, washed their hands off. And it came to the government to look after them. Yes, in a crisis. In a crisis, as Divya rightly said, we should have adaptive leadership, she said. I would link it with adhocracy. See, we should have, when a new situations, when a new problem is there, we should have new ways of finding solutions. As I said, new ways to pay all the debts. We have to de-bureaucratize. And then, how came that the role of the public sector, most of them, in protecting the labor in the hour of crisis, they did not do that. Most of them did not do that. This I can say with some authority because I happen to deal with the employer and the employee and government may capacity as a one-man commission. Now, government took it out. Yes, in a crisis, it has to be there. But when government steps into the role of the private sector and try to take upon itself the liabilities of the private sector, what does it mean? It means the tax which you and I paid are used for this purpose. So I think England expects every man to do his duty, Lord Nelson said. In an hour of crisis like this, India expects every man to do his duty, whether the private sector or the public sector. Each one has its own duty, each one has its own relevance. But the poor people are asking, if you go after principles and doctrines, if you leave us in the lurch in an hour of crisis, what do we do? How came that in spite of liberalization, globalization, and privatization, how came the country of prospered? We have excellent roads, airports. How came that only the migrant labor is without money? They are the ones who built up this nation, brick by brick, school by school, road by road, factory by factory, dam by dam, airport by airport. How came that we forgot them? In an hour of crisis, how came that we had distressing spectacle of these people, migrant labor with a headload over them, walking miles and miles? Somehow in the process of privatization, globalization, liberalization, we forgot this community. The capitalist parties, the socialist parties, all of them forgot the migrant laborers. Where were the migrant laborers? The migrant laborers were very much there under the fire which they built for our comfort. But we ignored them. I think the private sector, I would say, some of them at least, have failed in their role to protect the migrant labor, which according to the law is their duty. Now what to do? Whether private sector or public sector, I would say, I would like to invite your attention to a chapter from an incident from the life of Turgenev, the great writer. Turgenev once went for his morning walk. He saw under a tree a beggar stretching out his arms. That beggar did not have even a woolen cloth to cover him with. Taking pity on him, Turgenev decided to give him a ruble. He searched his tunic, long tunic pocket. Turgenev found that he had not taken even a kopeck with him. He took both hands of the beggar and told him, "Brother, I wanted to give you a ruble. I do not have even a kopeck with me." With tears in his eyes, the beggar said, "You call me a brother. What greater gift is there?" So take a cue from Turgenev. Go and tell the worker, the migrant labor in distress, call him brother. You will see the change in him. I think an attitudinal change is very much required in the post-COVID reconstruction and development. As all the panelists have said, yes, we have been taught how silly human life is. There is no need for arrogance or power or pelf. The COVID has leveled us. I think these lessons of these values should inform us when we think of redefining the post-COVID India. I would say our economic restructuring should be based not on GDP, not on gross domestic product, but on gross happiness index. Let the people be first. After all, who gave the authority for the IAS officers and ministers to be dispensers of India's destiny? The people. We, the people of India, give to ourselves this constitution. Therefore, bureaucrat or politician, our first duty is to the poor. Our second duty is to the poor. Our third duty is to the poor. I think this poor-centric restructuring is what is required in post-COVID India, whether it is through private sector or public sector or both. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bose, for giving detailed reply about the first answer, as well as your views about the migrants, because yes, today everybody is talking about the migrants and you being the one-man expert commission on that, and your views are very, very important. And the main point which you have thrusted about, call them brother. That is the thing, the humanity. We require that human face. And if definitely if the private sector also show the human face, definitely the migrant can be solved, Bob. Thank you very much, Dr. Bose, for this. Now, my question to Dr. Divya is, the lateral entry of outsiders into the IAS suggests there is a need for external experts in the bureaucracy. Should bureaucrats rely on outside advices from public health experts and economists during this pandemic?
Yes, as I spoke in my introductory session, I think the one skill that every bureaucrat always needs to embrace is the art of learning. And once you are ready to learn, I'm sure the source doesn't really matter, whether you have the 3 letters suffixing your name or not, you have a 2-letter prefixing your name or not. I don't think that's actually required. You learn every day from everybody. So, coming from experts, coming from economists, coming from doctors, and definitely public healthcare experts and epidemiologists, I think, these are a set of people whom we are in constant touch day in and day out, because they really help us etch our policies according to the changing needs of the day. And, I don't find there is anything wrong in learning anything from anybody. And consultation is definitely the way forward. And today, speaking of what Dr. Ashok sir had mentioned, the power of technology and the power of social media is overarching in today's era. And it definitely has a great influence on our work. So it's not only from empaneled experts or whoever has gotten in through the lateral entry route or whatsoever. It's from the common man. It's from people whom we learn day in and day out as well. But as was also rightly pointed out, it is bureaucrats or government does not merely act as a sponge, taking all the information from somebody and implementing it. We act as a sieve. We act as the processor. In the technology jargon, we actually act as the CPU. So we can definitely take in advice, we can take in opinions, we can take in information, we can take in data from all possible sources we can, which we think is necessary. But we need to process all of that in the right manner and ensure that the policy, as was highlighted by Anand Bose, the policy has to be targeted towards the most deserving, as is reminded to us every day by Gandhiji's talisman. So, we act as that CPU unit of this entire process, I feel, and definitely learning and imbibing from economists and experts, epidemiologists, is definitely the way forward, and we are already doing it. And personally, coming from a medical background, definitely the access to these people has proven to be a great boon to me as well, in order to enable myself to carry out my responsibilities in a manner that is desired by the people of the state and country.
Thank you, Dr. Divya, for giving the way that expert opinions are always welcome. And definitely, because, and not only the expert opinion, as you rightly said, that the technology, because you can very well Google and see what is happening around the world, and you can implement those things which are beneficial for the public at large. Now, I would like that what is your advice, Dr. Bose, to the government, any suggestions, or to the advice to the public at large?
When you say about advice, especially advice to government, I'm reminded of what Lord Masefield said. Advice is seldom welcome, and those who need it the most like it the least. So much about advising government. Now, coming to the point, well, what government has to focus on is to have an egalitarian society where our needs will replace our greed. As Gandhiji said, earth has everything to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed. That type of renunciation, which is very much there in the Indian ethos, should come back again. We have become an acquisitive society. Ostentatious display of wealth is there. I don't think we need all the trappings of luxury to have a happy life. Even when we are locked down, we realize that man has to be inward looking also. See, if you take care of your inner world, the outer world will take care of itself. I think there should be an attitudinal change. There should be a going back to the basic roots. I think India should rediscover itself. The world has discovered India. One small thing. How came that we could withstand COVID? There is no medicine for that. No vaccine has been found. We could withstand it because of the immunity which is there in the food habits, which our grandmothers taught us. Let us not feel that West is the best. We should turn back to ourselves and bring back whatever is good in us. Take pride in being Indians. Go back to the values of kindness, compassion, love. I think we had given the go-by to all these things. Because of our exposure to the West, because of the sedulous aping of the West, the sources of our culture got dried up. Go back to the culture, go back to the basics, and rebuild an India. Gandhiji said, I do not want a fallen or a prostrate India. I want an India which is ready to die so that humanity may live. I may make an amendment to that with all reverence to Gandhiji. It should be, I do not want a fallen or a prostrate India. I want an India which is ready to live so that humanity may not die. I think we should go back to our basics, to agriculture, respect for mother, respect for elders, respect for values. Let us come back, rediscover ourselves. I think if that is done, India, the rebuilt India, resurgent India, will be a model for others. And as the Bible says, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God's. Now, the pre-corona days, especially the political sector, Shakespeare would have seen India in the pre-corona days where political bickerings were there. That is why he said, the hell is empty. All the devils are here. I think we should have a change. I'm sure that this spirit, which I see reflected in the bureaucrats in the field, and also media barons like you, I think there is a commitment from the part of India to be Indians, to rediscover ourselves and forge ahead and be a model to the world. I think India has emerged as the mentor among tormentors. I think that is our strength.
Thank you, Dr. Bose, for giving, telling us that how India can emerge, and India is emerging as a global leader because of our culture, because of our eating habits, our immunity, and our values. And if we will rediscover, as you said, then definitely we will come forward and we will do wonders. And although you have mentioned about me as a baron, no, I'm just serving the people. I just want to show what is happening and see the other side, the real side of the people, because people should know what bureaucracy is doing. Now, I would like to have the last word from Dr. Divya Iyer. What you would like to say, message to the public at large, or any session you have experience and you want to give any suggestions, or the message to the public at large. Dr. Divya, please.
As we go ahead, as all of us have concurred that this journey is going to be long, so it is very important that all of us stay together on this journey and we share that spirit of fighting it out and saving humanity for our own sake. So I think it's the collective wisdom and collaborative action that's actually going to give us the desired results. For once in our state, we have something called the Sanadham portal, which is an online portal wherein volunteers can register in order to choose the kind of service they want to actually deliver in this time of COVID crisis. So we've had people coming in for distribution of food packets, for making the food kits that I had already mentioned to you, and all kinds of, we have volunteers in healthcare service, we have volunteers with the policing service, we have volunteers with the revenue service, with the disaster service. So almost every department has got its own set of volunteers now, whom we have been training as well over the last couple of months. And I think that collective spirit, the camaraderie that they all share, and that spirit of service to humanity is really worth a salute. So I hope that this can really foster the values and the humanity that all of us have been hailing throughout this conversation. So let's all stay together. We are on the same side of the board, and we will definitely see this through.
Thank you, Dr. Divya. Definitely will see it through. So today you have seen the other side of bureaucracy, because what was shown by the media and print media, the ugly side, or sometimes they show that how the wrong decisions were taken by the bureaucracy. But we should know what is the reality, how much hard work they are doing, how much time they are spending. And it's not that they should be working with their hands, but their mind, and to manage is not that easy. And I'm sure that this type of bureaucracy, what we have in India, definitely we can say that India is the best as far as the bureaucracy is concerned. Now, today, I would like to thank all my panelists who have joined and given their very, very powerful and very, very teaching, you can say, their views. And I'll also like to thank the media partners, V4 News, News Karnataka, Malnadu TV, Global TV, as well as Facebook and YouTube, where this program was shown live. And I'm sure that by these types of programs which we are bringing to you, our aim is to show the reality. We want to show the other side, because what we are seeing today is the one side, and one side can be good and ugly, but we should know the other side. And today you have seen the senior bureaucrats have spoken their heart. They have given us what they are doing and how the government is functioning. So we must salute them. We must give thumbs up to them. After all, they are working for the safety of all of us. Thank you very much for joining this program. Thank you very much.